Hi guys, welcome back to the 8th episode of Girl Next Door. Wow, it's been how many months now? I think 4 months of doing this. I am loving it, but it definitely is a commitment. And I think what I'm going to do, because I don't like disappointing you guys, and I didn't upload yesterday because I wasn't really happy with it. And I think it's because I'm just trying to bang out these podcasts for you to be consistent on time, and that's what is important to me. I want to provide and be consistent, but there's been a couple times in the last couple months where I've not exactly been happy with what I'm doing it, because maybe I feel like I've rushed it, or I don't exactly like what I don't want to put it out for some reason. And I just want to be proud of everything I post all the time. I don't want to post a half-hearted podcast and that's not really relevant or inspiring or hasn't really got a point to it. So I think what I'm going to do, and I've mentioned it on my story a bit, that setting realistic boundaries. Now, believe me, this podcast is my favourite thing I'm doing at the moment. Like, I get so excited when I record a podcast, getting all my ideas, my research, chatting to the microphone, and I love it. It's brilliant. But I think it's unrealistic for me to be posting 4 times a month or every week, because I have got uni work. I'm in my second year and the work is very demanding. There's a lot of things to do, as well as like actual jobs that I've got to apply for here, there and everywhere. So there's quite a lot going on. So the podcasts are still going to be coming out, but I think it's going to be 3 times a month, or every, like, have a break 1 week. And I think that's just going to really reset me, give me more inspiration to talk about. And I'm going to take that one break when I feel like it. If I'm not exactly feeling inspired to chat, then I'll just take a little break. And that can be applied to you guys and, with your work and stuff as well. Setting realistic boundaries and taking those small steps really help you to kind of keep on track of your future goals. Say like this, I could carry on doing the 4 episodes a month, or an episode every week for 6 months, and then be like, oh my god, I'm absolutely burnt out, and then just never do it again. And that's not what I want. I love doing this. So creating a realistic kind of time frame that keeps my enthusiasm, my love for it going, but making it realistic so I don't just start like not liking it, if you know what I mean. So I'm already feeling so much more positive talking about it now. I think maybe because my parents are out the house, because I've actually had to come home for Easter. Well, I didn't have to come home, but I'm home for Easter and I had to bring my podcast stuff with me because, got to keep it up. But yeah, it's very different doing it at home, because I am very aware that people can hear me at home. Like my family, when I live in Manchester with the people that I live with, they can probably hear me, but they don't really care. They kind of, my room's out the way, but in my room at home, it's like on the landing, so everyone walks past and kind of hears. And yeah, I don't really want that it kind of puts me off a bit. So I'm glad I'm home alone now and I can just be as loud as I want. And yeah, I'm feeling a lot better vibes. It's sunny. And before the podcast that I was going to put out, I was in like my pajamas. I was lying on my bed, and it was nighttime, and I think the actual vibe, it was just so different. I was really, because I was going to go out as well, I was kind of just a bit flat and uninspiring, and I guess we all are a bit like that sometimes, but it's not exactly what I want to be like putting out to you guys. And just being real, that it wasn't the best podcast. It was kind of very monotone and speaking like meh, meh, meh. And I was listening back to it when I was editing it in London last night, or during the day, and I was like, oh my gosh, Katie, shut up. Like, you are such a negative Nancy. And I was really not happy with that. Anyway, we kind of get the point that I wasn't really happy with it. But it's all about, allowing yourself. I was beating myself up about it yesterday, but with the lovely girl I met at the Gymshark event, Olivia, I know she'll be listening, so hey, Liv. But she was basically saying, just like, don't beat yourself up about it. Like, you want to be proud of something, put it out. And she really helped me, because I was kind of feeling a bit down about it. I didn't post it. And yeah, so just talking to a friend, kind of getting that like reassurance that it's okay, don't be harsh on yourself. Allow yourself, have compassion for yourself when you want to do something, but sometimes it just doesn't work out, and that is life. And these things happen, and it's not about getting down about it. It's about kind of giving yourself that compassion and support, and being kind to yourself, because sometimes it's out of your control. And here we are again. I'm re-recording it and I feel so much more confident. So, I was talking about my last podcast, well, the one that didn't get uploaded in the end. I want to still talk about the same thing, but in a more positive way, because it was a really inspiring podcast. I just necessarily wasn't feeling it at the time. But I wanted to talk about doing things alone. Now, I did a big thing alone. I went to a Gymshark event alone, a Gymshark Lift event in Manchester. I don't know if you guys would have saw it online, but it was this big event that Gymshark hosted with all the athletes, classes, food, competitions, like the shopping, and it was incredible. Anyone could go, and it was in Manchester, and it's the first one they've done since 2019, so it's been quite a while. I think maybe because of COVID, but like everyone was back in this under the same roof. We had like Anna Archer, Midgie Fit, like David Lay, James Bradwell, like everyone was there, and it was just great vibes. And so I was really wanting to go. Got myself a ticket by myself, and I was like, okay, like I've got this. It's kind of like new for me to do something big alone, because I've been used to doing like coffee shop dates by myself, and taking myself out for like a smoothie bowl or whatever, but never actually go to an event, an all-day event. Anyway, so I was in the queue, just kind of minding my own business, and then this girl was in front of me, and she looked like she was by herself, but obviously I didn't really know like if she was or not. And so I was like thinking about talking to her, and I must have been really nervous because I didn't actually speak to her. She like turned around and started speaking to me, and I was like, oh my god, brilliant. Like, I wanted to talk to this girl, but I didn't really know how to go about it. And she was the confident girly, and she like spoke to me, and we literally just like hit it off, and we're just like chatting for ages. And that is Liv, that's who I met yesterday as well. And honestly, we just clicked, and it was like we had the same love of Pokeballs, Gymshark, Misfits, gym, fitness. Like, it was incredible. I would have never ever met her if I didn't go to this event on my own. And if I was to go with somebody else, if you go as a two, you kind of just stick as a two because you've got that comfort there. And I think because we both were alone or by ourselves, I mean, saying we're alone, it sounds a bit, we were both going solo, and we spent the whole day together. We were talking about like different protein bars and different like kind of like classes that we wanted to do, and it was just a great fun the whole day together. We met Anna and Millie and like had like conversation with them, and Anna Archer picked me up. Like, that was a surreal moment, because obviously we see that these influencers online like Anna and Millie and all of that, and we just think inspirational person, like great, but and we know a lot about them. Obviously they don't know much about more, they don't know anything about us, but we feel this connection between the person, like the influencer and stuff, and it's almost when we see them in real life, I'm like, oh my gosh, you actually gauge like they are real people, they are human, they are just like you, and it really makes you feel close to them because you just have like actual chats with them, and you're like, wow, it's like having a person behind this character. And they were just as lovely as they come across online. And it's surreal. It was just mind-blowing. Just like all the things that Millie actually posted a picture of me and her on her main account. I was just like, what the hell? It's actually crazy. I felt like we're best friends. Me and Liv were talking about how we just do feel like the Gymshark athletes are our friends. And that's kind of sad. I'm kind of exposing us here. But I don't know if you guys like are into the Gymshark athletes, or you follow like fitness influencers and stuff, but I love the stuff they like put out, but because they're so open and like kind of honest, it kind of feels like a friend, like an online pal. I don't know. I'm kind of exposing ourselves there, but it just kind of shows that the community's there and everyone is so supportive and like a friend basically. And yeah, it was so daunting to do something by myself, and I got myself an iced coffee before I went, and just kind of, I had my headphones in the beginning of the queue, and then I decided to take them out because I wanted to be open, open body language, like be approachable, and yeah, just getting outside my comfort zone. I felt really empowered in myself and confident that like I wasn't going to a random place I didn't know anything about. It was, I love the brand, I love the gym. Why would I not love the event and the people there? They're going to be so similar. Anyway, So it's just kind of doing these things, pushing yourself outside your comfort zone. And like I did, I managed to make a friend, and I actually saw her yesterday when I was in London. And we met up and we went to a Pilates class, which I've never done before, but I'm going to touch on that a bit later. But pushing yourself outside your comfort zone is so important because, I would have never met Liv if I never went to an event by myself. And it just proves that kind of like the circles that you move in and like how authentic you are. And if you are true to yourself and do things by yourself, no matter what anyone else thinks, you will meet the people that, are similar to you. You've got like-minded mindsets and common interests. And yeah, it just really paid off. And so glad. Many positives to come out of the day, but, making a friend was definitely the highlight. So with Liv, I went to a Pilates class with her for the first time ever, and oh my gosh, I did not know what to expect. I think I'm going to post a picture of it later, so if you want to have a look at where we went, it was in London, I'll go check my Instagram out. It's actually at girlnextdoor_podcast, but I think there's a picture in there and I'll tag it and everything. But it was incredible. I didn't know what to expect. Pilates, I've never done it before. I just kind of thought, yummy mummy, with their kind of 1 kg weight, doing a bit of like core exercising, not really getting a sweat on, but oh God, was I wrong? Oh my gosh, it's so intense. It's all about core and kind of body movements, but like it's so about the stability and the position. I'm literally like moving around now trying to figure out like the feelings, but my legs, my core was burning. We put on the machines as well and it was really fun, but a lot harder than I thought. I thought yummy mummies were just people who didn't really like kind of exercise that much, but these yummy mummies must be like ripped because Pilates is a hard workout. And then we went for Pokey because Pokey is live. Literally loved it. And we just chatted for hours and it was just so nice to, obviously this is the only second time I met her. I mean, we spent the whole day together at the event, but seeing her again, just getting to know a bit more about her, it was nice to have someone that to relate to. We're quite similar in that sense. But yeah, I had a very lovely day. Central London gave me anxiety though, I can't lie. I was going to post on my Instagram, but I even couldn't bring myself to do that because I was like, oh my gosh, I just feel so anxious. I had this like feeling of I don't really know where I am, and kind of I was by myself quite a lot of the day because I had to edit and stuff, and I was only meeting Liv a bit later on, but I had this anxious feeling and I knew what I had to do, kind of go somewhere that I found really comforting. So I went to a Pret, clearly, and I didn't get myself a coffee because I knew that was going to like spike the adrenaline. So I kind of got myself hot chocolate and I sat and I read my book, obviously, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. Yes, I'm still reading it. I'm such a slow reader. I like to, really take my time and know, like kind of know what I'm reading. So I'm still reading that book, but I'm very close to the end. And yeah, so I was reading my book and got a snack, and I managed to kind of like calm myself down because I couldn't go home because I was meeting Liv. So it was really important that I had like took those steps to kind of, sort myself out. Even still, was a bit nervous when I first saw her again, but that's just kind of nice because new friend and everything. But yeah, it was, as soon as I saw her, the nerves went away straight away, but it was just great. Just a really nice evening. So I highly recommend anyone to go to an event alone. Go solo. What's the worst that could happen? It's so empowering, and you do the thing that you like doing anyway. There's so many positives. So definitely do it. So I mean, it kind of was relevant, but I just wanted to talk about there's definitely positives and negatives of doing things alone. And like I said, the positives, you can make friends, you can really do exactly what you want to do to a T. You don't have to experience any other change that you don't want. You can plan your day exactly how you like it and not worry about anyone. Doing things alone can give you time for your mind to be completely clear. You can focus on what you're feeling and doing things in like a mindful way, because you can just focus on the actions and not have to worry about anyone else's feelings. So it's all very much when you're on your own, it's very kind of therapeutic. You can spend time with yourself, kind of get to know yourself a bit more and do what you love doing for you. It's kind of like a nourishing experience doing something alone. You're really in tune with your own thoughts because you've not got that distraction of anyone else. So it's really important that we all do things alone. And I know it can be difficult because it's so nice to do things with somebody else, but sometimes doing something with somebody else is a bit of a distraction. You know, maybe you're not thinking about what you're actually doing or you're feeling, or you're just kind of going with the flow and whatever. But doing things alone, it's kind of taking back the power and being like, okay, this is what I want to do. This is how I'm feeling doing it. Oh, I'm feeling this certain way. And why is that? And you kind of get to know a bit more about yourself. Now, I definitely didn't do things alone. And I have, well, back in the day. And it's only in the last year I really started to do things alone. And it's really like leveled up my emotional intelligence in myself. Like, I know exactly how I'm feeling, like pretty much all the time now, with people, without people, because I've had that time to kind of really focus on like how things make me feel. And I think the beginning of when I was doing things alone wasn't necessarily in the like most wholesome way. It was kind of, I was alone because I felt like I was the only person in the world thinking what I was thinking when I was going through, you know, my eating disorder in summer, or last year as such. It wasn't just summer, but you know, that was like the peak of it. And I was alone for a lot of that, I think, because it was all in my head and I didn't really know how to tell anyone or anything. So there's obviously that where being alone, sometimes it's good to be around people and kind of sometimes like, you know, kind of being, I don't know what you're saying, you know, kind of going back on my point is sometimes you do need to be distracted though. And it's not great to always have distraction, but having a little bit of distraction really does help as well. Having that support and that comfort that sometimes people give you is really important as well. So it's kind of finding the balance and kind of testing what you can do by yourself. And the more you do by yourself, the kind of stronger as a person and more confident in yourself you're going to be, because you're reassured that you can do something. So it's about kind of trying what you can do, you know. Like I said, it's kind of like a balance, like a seesaw, really. You want to be able to be comfortable doing things alone because then you feel free and you can kind of, you don't have to rely on anyone else. You're very, you know, self-assured. You can do something if you want to do it. But if you're constantly doing things alone and, you know, you don't reach out to people and you think, oh, well, I want to do it my way, so being alone is the only way, like being a lone wolf vibe. And sometimes that can be just as bad, really, because you're not experiencing the change, you're not experiencing any curveballs, you're not experiencing how to adapt to other people. And it is important to learn how to kind of compromise and do things to accommodate other people as well. And I think it's so common these days, like online, I don't know if you guys see on TikTok, but I'm on this side of TikTok where it's like, I'm in my like focus on myself era. No one else can talk to me. This is me, you know, forever, basically. I'm girl boss, me first, me first, me first. And that's great. But why does it have to be? If you're looking after yourself, if you're, you know, prioritizing yourself, why can't you not do it with someone else? Like, this is what kind of I'm trying to get my head around now, is that maybe in past relationships that you might have lost yourself because you're young or it maybe wasn't the healthiest, so you kind of lose who you were and you become, I don't know, the girlfriend and boyfriend. You just come as a pair, you know, you kind of merge into each other. And actually, if, you know, maybe a grown-up relationship or a bit more mature, you can still, you are still individual people with your own individual lives. Why, just because you're with someone else doesn't mean you have to drop that self-care or drop the self-love or drop doing things that you love doing alone. Why is that? You know, your priority might be working, but, you know, that's great. And if you're in this working, you know, hustle all the time. You don't have, I'm doing air quotes here now, you don't have time to have a boyfriend or a girlfriend. What is that what you want? I guess that if you want to work, just like always on the work, but why can't you do that work? Why can't you put the same amount of energy into the work? If you've got a supportive person that's going to like kind of understand, and why do you have to compromise in that sense if you want to always work? I don't know. Basically, kind of what I'm trying to say is your self-love, doing things alone, loving your own company, it shouldn't be compromised to being able to love somebody else. And I feel like it's quite hard. I feel like people think it's one or the other. Like you either really focus on yourself or you give yourself to somebody else. No. You're not giving yourself to somebody else. You're supporting. Like you support them and you care for them, but you're both individual people. You just kind of like hanging out. You share the same interest or whatever. You just choose to spend time with that person, and it's not about giving up who you are. And it's kind of you're two individual people coming together and sharing, like, well, you obviously love each other, but it's not, you don't have to give up your self-care, your self-love just because you love someone else. Like, it's like your love is doubled and not halved. Your self-love they're two different things. Loving someone else and your self-love, or doing things by yourself and not doing things by yourself, they don't have to then completely be disregarded. You can keep them very separate and do things together, but make sure you kind of do things on your own, because you've still got that life, that personal life that you need to kind of keep up and honour what you authentically want to do. It's not, sometimes you might not want to do the same thing, and sometimes you do, but it's, why does it have to be compromised, And that's the kind of thing I've been thinking about recently, because I've been in this mindset of, no, don't want a boyfriend. I'm focusing on me, girl boss, hustle. I want to focus on just work. And in a sense, that has actually kind of hindered me in a way, because I've not been going out. I've not been really going on nights out. And I don't really love drinking that much. But I just think I've kind of limited myself because I've been in this like hustle of working. And it's kind of shut off a few, opportunities for me to meet new people. And yes, I went to the Gymshark event and made a lovely friend, but kind of meeting like boys and stuff, I've not been going out at all. So I've not kind of been meeting anyone else. And because I've been in this like, I'm focusing on me phase, and yes, I can focus on me, but why can't I focus on, like, why do I always have to focus on like my work? Do you know what I mean? Like, I think at the moment, I'm in this very much control sense that I want to do everything the best as I can. And this is like, we all do this a lot of the time, where we always want to be the best we can, produce the best work, be the most optimal. Now, the optimal kind of sums it up quite nicely, because I go to bed early because I want to wake up early, because I want to optimize my day. I want to be the best I can be, get the best, amount of hours in the day, work from the beginning, go to bed early, get enough sleep, have nourishing meals. I want to be optimal in that way. I have a green juice, that is optimal, quote unquote optimal. But sometimes being optimal isn't optimal. Like, it's not realistic to be optimal every day. And it's allowing yourself to kind of have those days where you're like, oh, I want to go out, because, honouring that. And it's okay. And I sometimes feel this pressure to, even if I go out one night out of the whole month, I'm like, well, shit, I could have been more optimal. Why the hell am I thinking like that? And we think of that all the time, that we do one thing that's, not necessarily, our usual or something different. And it's like, oh, it's not going back to bottom. You're just living your life. Life throws you change, curveballs, spontaneity, and it's about kind of adapting it and, rolling with the changes. And it's so good to have different change, and being optimal all the time isn't, you can't keep it up, because it's not the lifestyle. And so going back to this kind of like, I'm focusing on me, don't want a relationship. If you're going to be focusing yourself all the time. And then when you're ready, like, when are you going to be ready for a relationship? When are you going to be like, oh, like one day an epiphany is going to happen. You're going to be like, yes, I'm ready. I don't want to focus on myself anymore. Like, I'm ready to focus on someone else. No, don't just focus. Like, don't focus on you for like years and then just one day be like, oh, okay, I'm ready to focus on someone else. That you're focusing on yourself should always be, you know, a big part of you. And it's keeping the kind of life set, like keeping that part of your life separate. Like, focus on yourself, but you know, you can focus on and or like, you know, keep a close eye on someone else, if that makes sense. Don't cut your boundary, like don't cut opportunities, don't miss opportunities just because you're focusing on something else. But we can multitask in the sense that, and so I think basically what I'm kind of gathering from this podcast, but I just kind of speak out loud, is not about kind of doing things alone or being or doing things as a group. It's not about that. It's kind of basically just talking about never miss an opportunity, never like surpass an opportunity. If something comes your way and you really like it, say if, you know, you found someone you really get along with, but you're like, oh no, like, sorry, I'm working on me, like, you know, but sometimes I get it if you just come out of a relationship and you kind of want to find who you are, but you know, it's difficult because that person could be the right person. Things come into your life for a reason. So it's about not kind of limiting your options and always keeping an open eye for things. Like, if you're constantly like looking down and you've got like blinkers on, you can't see around you and you're just focused on one thing, you're never going to see what's around and what's out there. So like, put your shoulders back, you know, look around you. You're walking with confidence and you can see there's so many opportunities, people around you, like different things, and it feels so much more fresh and lighter because we're not just focusing on one thing all the time. Because chances are, if you're focusing on one thing all the time, you know, going from one extreme, you're going to go from, like, if you're constantly living in extremes, you're never going to have that, like, healthy balance. So if you're constantly focusing on work all the time, then you get a girlfriend, boyfriend, or whatever, you then start focusing on them, and that other end of your life kind of dips, and then it's constant, like, seesaw of going up and down, and you never, if you go from one extreme to another, it's never going to be like a obtainable thing. So it's kind of keeping that open mind and not closing doors. And, you know, I feel like you guys kind of maybe understand what I'm trying to say. But yeah, I've really enjoyed kind of talking about that. On the other hand, I'm just going to throw a little debate. So I'm not kind of what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's like there's one way or the other. I'm just kind of like maybe opening up your mind to different options and, you know, keeping things similar. But on the other hand, sometimes we can't do everything, and it's about choosing what matters the most. Now, I'm kind of good at multitasking in a way, but sometimes when it gets too much, I then I literally shut down. I get so overwhelmed and I just can't do it. So I literally posted this in my story like a minute ago, that I have got so much to do today and I've got a list as long as my arm, but sometimes that, I think, is I just set myself up unrealistic goals, and I then get like really upset that I've not completed them all, and it's like kind of like loop of, you know, setting myself up for failure and then feeling guilty afterwards. And it's like, well, listen, then learn, Katie. You know, if you can't complete it all, don't write it down in the first place. So I've tried to set 3 things to do. And sometimes it might be more, sometimes it might be less, but 3 realistic goals I can do today. And if you can apply that with, you know, seeing people, going to events, you know, if it's unrealistic for you to go to events by yourself, or if it's unrealistic for you to do a lot of things by yourself, or, you know, not do a lot of things by yourself, you know, it's kind of about setting what you can and, you know, can't do. It's about pushing the boundaries, but, you know, be realistic on how far you can push the boundaries. So I just wanted to say that, you know, you've got to be realistic in the sense that you can't do everything alone. You can't not focus on certain things, because you do, and it's about setting priorities, but it's definitely about the balance and working out what works for you. And it's a trial and error. Like, it's taken me quite a long time to kind of figure out what I want to do. And I'm still on that journey. It's a kind of journey that sometimes I feel like I know, and then the next minute I'm like, oh, okay, this is not working. And I kind of need to take my own medicine because I'm kind of telling you guys about, how I'm feeling. But sometimes I forget my own advice. And then my friends remind me that, like, Katie, you literally did a podcast on this. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I probably should listen to it. Probably should, listen to my own podcast or whatever. But yeah. So I've been talking now for 30 minutes, which has been quite a long time. I hope you guys have had a great week. Sorry again for the late upload. And yeah, follow me on socials. It's at girlnextdoor_podcast. Don't forget to like or kind of review the podcast, and please hit the follow button if you like it. It really helps me. Share it, don't, message me, whatever. I am very active on my Instagram. So yeah, I hope you guys have a great rest of the week, and I'll speak to you next time. Bye!